Thank you, Jesse. Good job on actually asking Brian about it, because last week when Bethany was the Toastmaster, she just skipped right over my speech and was going right into the topic.
Oh, before
you had to give Joy on the way up and everything.
Yeah, the pressure was on. She was really excited for table topics.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doug.
No, it's okay. Sorry, Doug. Anyway. A few months ago, I believe it was, someone in the club, I don't remember who, sent out an email asking if there were a few people who were willing to really make the push to get their competent communicator done by the end of the Toastmasters year, which is coming up on July 1st. And a few people responded and said they'd give it a shot. And one of those people was Brian Trent. Brian is here today giving his 9th speech, although it is Project 7 in the CC manual. He's done a couple of them in a different order, which is okay. But Brian's speech today is called The Fifth Taste, and this is to fulfill, again, like I said, Competent Communicator Project 7 on research your topic. So the goal on this is to push your limits a little bit on what you know, speak on a topic where you have to do a decent amount of research, consult some different sources, and incorporate that into a speech, as opposed to some of the other speeches where you really speak from what you know. Here you're learning as you write your speech. So we'll be looking for that. Brian didn't give me a whole lot of intro information other than the title of his speech, which again is The Fifth Taste. So we'll be looking for information from numerous sources that carefully support the points of this facts. 5 to 7 minutes, and help me welcome Brian Trent.
Well, awesome speeches so far today, so I'm going to try to keep up with that. So some of you may or may not know there's generally 4 tastes that we have. It's sugar, salty taste, sour, and bitter. And as it turns out, there's a 5th taste, and that is the dreaded MSG, also known as monosodium glutamate. And some of you have heard I've done a number of health-based, food-based talks in the past, and MSG is something that's been on my mind lately, and I'll describe why a little bit later on. But today I'm going to describe a little bit of what MSG is, a little bit of its history as a food additive, and lastly, a little bit of the points on both sides of, is MSG really the 5th taste and something we should savor, or is it slowly killing our society like lead did to the Roman Empire? A little bit of a dichotomy there, right? But I'll warn you, as most health debates, there is certainly no concrete answer for us at this time, maybe someday. So, MSG, manufactured MSG is a food additive. And of course, most of us probably know of it from Chinese food, where it's most famous or notorious, depending on what side you fall on. But it's added to a whole lot of other things. I just saw it on a bag of Doritos last week. It's everywhere. I was surprised to learn, though, that MSG is actually based out of a natural substance that is found in tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, mushrooms, fruits and vegetables, and it's actually, MSG is the salt version of an amino acid. Let me make sure I get this right. I always want to add an extra couple letters. Glutamic acid, which our bodies actually produce naturally. And so they're both considered glutamates in our body. So yes, we can produce it, manufacture it, but it is also found naturally in foods and in our bodies. So that was news to me, of course. I was not aware of that. So whether it's natural or not, we'll get to it in a minute. So the history of food additive, of MSG as a food additive, and I have to read just a little bit of this. In 1908, a Japanese scientist, Kikune Akita, I'm sure I butchered that, was contemplating over a bowl of seaweed soup, which of course I'm sure we all love, right? And he wondered what gave this soup such a meaty flavor. And he turned out to be a scientist, so he researched this, and he ended up boiling the seaweed down and evaporating it until he was left with a crystalline substance. And that is what turned out to be MSG. And he termed it at the time umami, which in Japanese means delicious, because clearly it must be. So, over time it became widespread. It was used in World War II to supplement the rations of the soldiers and actually try to make them better. It was, and then in the industrialization of our food industry, it was added to all kinds of canned and boxed foods, which of course nowadays we know is maybe not so good. But what may be surprising is it is produced at 2 million tons a year right now. So MSG is not a thing of the past. It is very much out there and continuing to be used. I was under the impression maybe it was winding down with public pressure and the feeling that MSG is not safe. So to the last point of, is this a good thing or a bad thing? We'll start with the concern side of the equation, and really that developed in the 1960s with a letter from a Chinese-American doctor to the New England Journal of Medicine, where he was reporting side effects after he would eat Chinese food. And it was numbness and rapid heart rate. And once that article was out there, they got flooded with similar reports, and the FDA got flooded with reports. And so it was linked to MSG and things like headaches and heart palpitations, nausea, weakness, and where it came was of interest to me is in chest pain. And I've noticed in certain foods, and particularly after eating Chinese, I would literally think I was having a heart attack later that night. And now I did, on a side discussion for another topic, bananas actually cause it as well for me. And for a lot of you, bananas do not sit well with a large percentage of the population. But Chinese food does it also to me, I think. More experimentation is needed. Some biophysicists have actually tried to link MSG to things like autism and diabetes. Of course, there's no firm link, but there are a segment out there that believes that MSG can be tracked to that. But by and large, research and experts will say glutamate is glutamate, regardless of whether it's manufactured or not. But it's kind of analogous to our vitamins and supplements these days. Is it better to get your iron from a pill or from spinach and red meat? It's kind of a similar deal there. And some of those of you familiar with organic chemistry, when you manufacture things, they can be a little bit different, and MSG relative to the natural amino acids is no different. You can get, when you manufacture it, you basically get mirror images, like a right hand, left hand, or right and left hand kind of thing. So is there a difference then in how that reacts in the body? There's no conclusive evidence. So on the side of no concern then, this has been extraordinarily researched, and they have not been able to have a reproduce ill effects in people, even those that claim MSG sensitivity. The European Food Information Council states on its website it's one of the most studied food ingredients in our food supply. Hundreds of studies and numerous scientific evaluations have concluded that MSG provides safe and useful taste enhancer for food. Our own FDA says it's generally recognized as safe, but it does require it to be listed on food. So, at the end of the day, is it a concern? Research shows it's not, but there are certainly those that feel that in certain doses that MSG can cause side effects. I am on the fence, and I plan to carry out extensive research over the next couple of weeks because there is the Chinese restaurant around the corner from us has the no MSG option. Mm-hmm. So I will be trying it, weekly, both ways, and we'll report back to everyone on my results, which of course will be the first conclusive evidence in the U.S. So I will report back to you all. That is my speech.
All right, if you have another minute.